Air Conditioning, and today we're talking about air purifiers, air scrubbers, and anything that makes a claim that it kills viruses. Hope you enjoy. First up on the list is the Carrier Air Purifier. Now this is a product that replaces your existing filter on your furnace, so you wouldn't have this and your existing filter. This would replace that. It would mount on a furnace, either on the side or the bottom or in the attic. There was ways to do that too. Doesn't work on all applications. We'll get into that a little bit more. But let's talk about how it works. Air enters in through this side of the filter cabinet. You see there's this ionization grid, and ionization is one of those things you're going to hear a lot of in this video. And what that does is it charges particles to the actual filter media. And when we look inside here, there's a lot of electronics here to control this thing, and places where the electronics connect. There's actually these little silver tabs here. So whatever the ion grid charges, either negative or positive, this does the opposite, so that those particles attract to this media. This is just media you replace. One of the nice things about this is the old electronic air cleaners, which were really good at removing particulate from the space. You had to clean them all the time. This one, you just replace this about every year. Depends on the application, but about a year for most applications. What Carrier claims on this particular product, and I've got some notes, is on third-party testing from 2012 shows that 95% of particle size 1 micron to 3 microns is captured. So 95% of those tiny particles, and a micron is 0.0004 inches. It's tiny. A human hair is approximately 75 microns. It's not even visible to the human eye. Okay, so things like dust will absolutely get collected. Third-party testing shows that things that are, I'm assuming things that are captured have a 99% kill rate. So when we talk about viruses can be smaller than 1 micron, but a lot of them are a little bit larger, and they will get captured, and then actually the ions in this field will kill. So capture-kill technology is what Carrier calls that, and it's very effective. And I'll show you how we do the maintenance on this. There's a little thing right here. You pull that out. This is the filter. It's very robust. It's very strong. It's not flimsy in any way. You can tell just by feeling it. It's a nice filter. And this can be pulled out and cleaned if necessary. I'm not sure what the maintenance instructions on that part are, but this piece here just gets replaced. And it fits right back in. It's a very nice fit. Air's not going to get around it. Everything's going to get filtered. Arrow points towards the furnace. And this is true for most filters, by the way. If you want to know which way to point the arrow, point it towards the furnace. And then the door goes right back on. So maintenance is incredibly simple. Okay? That creates an airtight seal. So let's look at some pros and cons on this. The pros are it replaces the existing filter, so you don't have double filter costs. You just have to replace this particular filter. Notes up here. The capture-kill technology, that's amazing. The coil being downstream, that's a good thing because that helps keep the coil clean. That's where a lot of mold can grow. And it's a low ozone product. So this new product from Carrier, very low ozone, meets all the California requirements. The downsides are that it only filters the air going through the system, so you have to continue to run the fan if you want to do the best filtering. Increasing the use of the fan can increase use of electricity as well. So on a newer air conditioning system, especially by Carrier, which we offer, they can have very, very efficient fans, and you can run those at a low speed for continued lengths of time, just like you would a ceiling fan or something like that. And it won't cost very much. But some older motors are going to run at high speed at high electricity costs all the time when you run them, and that can increase your electricity bill. So you got to be mindful of that. And you may need to reinstall or replace the air handler or furnace when you install the air filter. So it may not be a thing you could just slap on and be good. So that can increase the upfront cost for installation. So these are all downsides. It can reduce airflow. This filter can be too restrictive for some systems. This one here certainly would not work on a 5-ton air conditioner, for example. You need maybe 2 of them to work on a 5-ton or 4-ton air conditioning system, depending on the application. So it's important to find a contractor that really understands airflow quality, air quality, and are familiar with the products to make sure that it doesn't harm in some way the airflow for your air conditioning heating system and increase electricity costs as a result. The last thing that's a downside on this is does not work on all applications. And so there are some places, you can see it's kind of a big product, it takes up space. You may not be able to install this on your house. Okay, next on the list is UV lights, and these are a very specific product for a very specific problem, and we'll get into that. So one of the things, like even here on the box, this by the way is the Clean Comfort Indoor Air Essentials, and we sell these. Carrier makes one that's very similar. These by and large are from the different manufacturers, essentially very similar products, or the same. So this can fill in for most brands of UV lights. This one says it helps reduce allergens and irritants such as bacteria, viruses, and mold. So that's why we're including it in this. The purpose of this is to go into the air conditioning coil, the indoor coil. That's where the condensation is produced. It's a very moist environment, and as a result, things can grow there. Mold, obviously, bacteria, if it's got food and moisture and warmth, it'll grow. What this does is very much like recreating the sunlight inside the system to kill those things on surfaces within the system. Where these things don't perform as, I'll step back for a second. It's very good at killing things on your coil as long as the light is shining directly on it. Things in the shade aren't gonna be killed, right? But it will greatly reduce bacteria and mold on the coil. Where they don't do as well is as things are flying past them. So the intensity of the light and the time in the light is relevant on these things. So it's just like you when you're sitting out at the beach. If you're out in the sun for a long time, you're going to get sunburned, right? And that's essentially what this thing does. If you don't spend very much time in the sun, you're not going to get sunburned. So you need those things. You need this thing to be on and baking those things for a very long time in order for, relatively speaking, for those things to become, destroyed or killed like bacteria. Things flying past in the airstream, if they fly very close to the bulb, they're going to get some of that intensity, but if it's far away, it may get past. And so they're not great at cleaning all of the air in the home, mostly what is in the coil, which can be a very good thing if you've got mold problems. If you live in a high humidity environment, this could be a real lifesaver. So let's get on to the pros and cons. So it is a low ozone product, that's good. It kills mold and bacteria where it's most likely to occur. I mean, the mold and bacteria is most likely to occur on that coil. And does not require the fan to be operating. So it's going to kill that stuff whether the fan is operating or not. So it does, on the downside, it does only kill things where the light is shining. And I got to be careful with the word kill. I should say reduce allergens and irritants such as bacteria, viruses, and mold. But only where the light shines, and you may need more than one bulb. Some of the coils are what they call end coils, and so they have multiple sides. So you might have to have one down low and one up high in order to get the light to shine everywhere within the product. The efficiency or the effectiveness of this, I should say, is going to degrade over time. So as the bulb ages, the intensity will go down. And then the further away from the light, the intensity goes down as well. So you got to make sure you have it very close to the things you're trying to cleanup. Maintenance on this, you're going to have to do maintenance on this every 1 to 2 years depending on the brand, and it may not be very effective against viruses. Of course, you'll want to go to the manufacturer's information for how effective those things are, and a lot of that information is very sparse. It may not work in all applications, but it does work in most applications. Different applications will require different bulbs, lengths of bulbs, and that can get a little complicated. But overall, it's a pretty good product. It does not do some of the things that these next ones do. And this one can be hard to recommend sometimes. Okay, so we're gonna go on to air scrubbers, or these can be called air purifiers. The terminology can get really funny, and the way this one's missing the catalyst. So this box is open, and I should have checked it. It's actually missing the catalyst, which is the part that plugs into here, and it comes out, and it's you'll have like a metal coated substrate where a UV bulb, and we'll see if we can't get one and and show a little bit of a video of that. Okay, we got the cell. We're back at the office now, and what this is you can see the honeycomb pattern. It's like a lot of little straws almost, but this is a material that there's a bulb inside here. I don't know if you can see down in there, but this bulb emits a light that reacts with the chemicals or the metals that are on the surface of this. This does degrade over time, and this is the replaceable part for maintenance. In this particular model, I do believe it's a 2-year life on this, continued use all the time. So there you go. So that's the cell. Just want to make sure you guys got a look at that. So that's what actually goes into the ductwork, and the air passes, through these tubes. And this is from a website called explainthatstuff.com, and we'll provide a link for that. In a nutshell, this is paraphrased. In a nutshell, ultraviolet light shines onto the catalyst, which converts water in the air into hydroxy radicals, which are highly reactive, short-lived, uncharged forms of hydroxide ions. So we got that ions again. Those small, agile hydroxyl radicals then attack bigger organic carbon-based pollutant molecules, breaking apart their chemical bonds and turning them into harmless substances such as carbon dioxide and water. So this is an entirely different product altogether from the previous products. We have that word ions again, and ions, what they do is it's a charged particle, so it's going to attach itself to something like a magnet, and as a result of that, it changes the thing that it attaches to into something that is not harmful to you. So these do have, there's charts on here. We should take pictures of this stuff here. They're very effective at that. I had one in my home, and the bulb lasted 2 years. Probably, the thing is, they replaced the bulb. That's why it's missing. But I had one in my house for 2 years, and we had small children in diapers. You couldn't smell the diapers. Nobody got sick. It was a very effective tool. It kept the house smelling clean. It was just an amazing product. It was a high ozone product though, and the new products are low ozone. And so there's some debate on whether or not, and right here is ozone free. There's some debate on whether or not they're more effective with the ozone than they are without. I'm not sure. I don't know. These things do claim to reduce airborne pathogens, allergens, mold, and viruses. Okay. So pros. The positive things of these things are they are effective at cleaning the entire living space. So not just the air that goes through the heating and cooling equipment, because this installs into the ductwork, the main trunk line after the furnace or air handler. So these hydroxyl radicals go out into the space. They're distributed into the home, and that's where they do their work, not just in the ductwork. Not just the air that goes through the equipment, but all the air in the home. They install into almost any system, almost. There are some exceptions to that, very few. Maintenance is really easy, but there is maintenance. All these things up to this point have had maintenance, so additional cost down the road, but it is an easy thing to replace, and it is effective at removing odors. The UV light's not going to remove odors. The air purifier probably will remove odors, but again, only things that are going through the heating and cooling equipment. So if you cooked fish in the kitchen and you're not heating or cooling your house, you're going to smell fish, right? Whereas this thing will reduce that very quickly if the fan is running, right? On this one, the downside, some of the negatives of these products is the coil, which the UV light and the air purifier help keep clean. This all occurs after the coil, so mold spores and things like that can still grow on the coil. They won't be affected by this in all applications. There are some applications where it would, but we won't get into that. The bulbs and catalysts need to be replaced every 1 to 2 years, depending on the make and model. Some models produce ozone. In California, you're not going to have any of those models. Those have been made illegal. And it still requires a filter to collect the dust. So so one of the things that these things do is they cause other particles to want to join together because they're charged. And so they sort of collect together like magnets, like little tiny magnets in the air. And then they're more likely to get caught up in a filter. So we mentioned on this other air purifier that it collects 95% of particles from 1 micron to 3 microns. Well, if you have particles that are smaller than that, the efficiency goes way down. And if you can group particles together to make them bigger, then they're more likely to get caught in a filter like that. And that's one of the things that this does really well. Best when used with the fan. So the same issues with the fan motor. You're going to have potentially higher electricity costs to run this thing. And the bulb uses electricity, but I mean all these things use electricity. And does not work in all applications. Again, plenum coils and some mobile homes, you're not going to be able to use a product like this. Okay. And that, a product that I've been happy with in the past and has been very effective at keeping my house clean, which is this, the previous model of this one is the air scrubber, or photocatalytic oxidizer as it's sometimes referred to. And we'll see if we can't get a picture of a bulb assembly, because that's kind of a neat thing. Okay, so now we're on the new kid on the block. This is kind of a newer product from New Calgon. Most people have heard of that company. We have 2 people that I know that have had this in their homes. They're both very happy with it, and we're going to explain how that works. One of those people is my own mother. She was suffering from some respiratory problems, and I said, why don't we try this out? And she's been very happy with it. So that's anecdotal evidence. Let's see how it works. We're going to take it out of the box and show you what this thing is. Some stickers or something. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. Little on-off switch right here. You're going to want to leave that on pretty much all the time. This one does not require any maintenance. So what this thing does is it's what they call bipolar ionization. And these little brushes, I don't know if you can get in close enough. These little brushes right here release positive and negative ions. What the manufacturer says you do with this is you put this inside the furnace where the blower is. And you allow the air to pass over this thing, and it carries those ions through the equipment, cleaning the coil, and then going into the house to clean the house. So it does a lot that none of the other things really can do, which is clean all the air in the house, right? Whether it goes through the equipment or not. It cleans the coil and all the things that the air scrubber does. It also doesn't require any maintenance. The one we installed, this is the iWave-R. This is a motorized contraption here. Cleans the brushes for you on an interval. So it's got a little brain box in here, and after a certain period of time, it just wipes those off. And that's the only maintenance this thing needs, other than changing out the filters on your system, because this will clump those particles together like the air scrubber, and get those caught into the air filtration system, the home air filtration system. So what this thing, it polarizes particles in the air like allergens, smoke, and other pollutants to attract them to each other in order to clump them together so they can be filtered out by the central filter system. When those ions come in contact with pathogens such as mold, bacteria, and viruses, they remove the hydrogen from those pathogens. Without the hydrogen, those pathogens die. Independent testing, this is from the box here. Independent testing shows cold plasma kills 96% of pathogens. That's the ions coming out here. Kills 96% of pathogens, including H1N1. In 30 minutes in the living space, reduced Legionella, Legionnaire's disease, by 99.71%. That's according to the manufacturer. Of course, New Calgon is a big company. They make a lot of products. I tend to believe the things they say because everything goes through a very rigorous testing process. I like this one a lot. It has a lot of pros. It's one of the least expensive overall to own because it doesn't require any maintenance. Also because of the ease of installation. There's literally magnets here, so they can slap it inside the furnace. That doesn't work in every case, but in a lot of cases that will. It cleans the coil, so you don't need the UV lights potentially. It works on practically every type of application. I was trying to think of an application I couldn't use this on, and I couldn't think of one. They make products for ductless mini split systems, which none of these other products work on ductless mini splits. They work on central heating cooling systems, heat pumps, package units. I can't think of a single application where you wouldn't be able to find a type of this product from New Calgon that won't work. It is best when used with fans, so we still have that. You want to run the fan because you need to distribute those ions through the house, and it does require a filter to collect those particles, so you'll still have that. But that's really the only, I mean, you're going to have a filter on any air conditioning system anyways, and we do have a separate video on filters, which we should also link to that. But this is the iWave, and I like this, and people have been really happy with it. So that's the iWave-R, and I'd like to thank Sigler and Riverside for letting us film here and letting us borrow some of the stuff to film, and all of that, and Carrier and so on and so forth, and then the New Calgon rep for helping me out with some of that information. I like all of these products. I think some of them, like this one, I think is probably better than others. And then I like the Air Purifier on especially new installations. I think if you're getting a new heating and cooling system installed, it would be a good time to buy a product like that. Okay, that's it for now.